Hey all of you sustainability and gardening nuts, here I am, Sustainable Stace. It'll probably be one of my latter videos of this year, 2023. One of my updates was going to be Soda Pop is still alive and kicking. He's past his 15th birthday. He's been around, maybe not on camera, for every single video I've ever done because we've been going at this for about 5 years. I didn't know if he was going to show up, but there he is. We're recording this as fall is wrapping up and winter's coming on. Most nights we're getting frost, west coast of Canada. It's December number 1. I want to share with you some celebratory high points that are largely for myself, grounded in my awareness increasingly of my identity and the targets that I feel I have to aspire towards. And I'm going to ask for some feedback at a few points as well, so I hope you can buckle up, jump in. It's gardening and otherwise. I've got a bunch of trials going on in my greenhouse behind me, comparing different plants with the same growing in the garden, mostly with leeks and cruciferous vegetables. I find whenever I do trials, side by side, 2 different beds, containers versus beds, etc., I get this like for sure sense of how to proceed in the future. I think my best ever trial video that's on this channel is the one about potato performance, hills versus containers. It doesn't get as many views as I think it should. I hope you get to check it out. I just got back a couple weeks ago from visiting small-scale coffee farmers in southern Ethiopia. It was absolutely fantastic. I got to meet a whole bunch of new people. I've traveled to visit coffee farmers all over the world, and it had been a while post-COVID since I'd traveled to visit coffee farmers. This was a great experience. Absolutely my high point on this channel for the year was uploading everything in the playlist that's simply called Backyard Abundance. Have you checked out Backyard Abundance yet? I'll just give you an overview because if you haven't, this gives you a little bit of a taste of what it's about. I started uploading videos in March, which for where we are, west coast of Canada, it's a little bit early for gardening, but it's a great time to set up your garden getting ready to head into spring. So early March we started uploading and we went at it with a total of 33 videos and finished the upload in late October, just as garlic is being planted and garden beds are being harvested and turning into fallow or either fall and winter veg plantings. The essence of Backyard Abundance is a plug-and-play approach in a small compact area with 3 garden beds. You could have as many or fewer if you wish, and it deals with pest-proof, critter-proof, soil protection, the least water possible, a system that involves no weeding, drip irrigation, explains composting. And once the beds are set up, and there's 3 of them, each on a different budget, so that you have a different aesthetic and a different cost associated, the soil gets built into layers, that all gets laid out, and then the seeds or the starts go into the soil in Backyard Abundance, and every 10 days I check in to show you what's happened, to celebrate, and also the challenges or milestones we've hit, and it goes on like that through an entire gardening season. So if you haven't checked out Backyard Abundance or you want to share it with someone else, I strongly encourage you to do so because I think it's an amazing resource. It's a whole year in the garden for someone who wants the least work and the most productivity. And of course, once you've got raised garden beds dialed in and you know how to protect and guard the soil and your infrastructure like irrigation and compost is in place, year after year after year, it's less and less work as you rotate your crops through the beds. So that was definitely the high point. The other amazing milestone for me on Sustainable Stace channel is that, woo! Thank you to you guys. We hit 35,000 subscribers. So we're past the 35,000 subscriber milestone. Thanks very much if that's one of you. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Now you might be wondering why there's a cardboard box propped up here. It's to shield my props. I've got a few things I want to show and share as we get going along here, so I'll jump right into that as well. There's been some bumps along the way this year. As I mentioned, I'm way into targets, and I don't just mean targets for gardening or target for fitness or target for relationship, though those are included. I've really got this identity-based approach on being very purposeful and intentional. It's like this, it's a big idea. Why did God put me here on the earth, and how do I fulfill the most possible of my God-given potential in the days and years that I have on earth? So it's been a big one, and one of the things I love to do that brings me great joy is trail running. And in spring on a descent, I had a massive roll on this ankle. I went down hard. I was not able to move for a couple days. I was on so many painkillers and it was so swollen. And I looked at about 4 months of rehab until I was able to move decently. I had to move to slow walking with a brace on there. I started to swim and get the ankle moving, then a little bit of cycling to get some weight when I was out of the saddle, and then gradually back to trail running, which, thank you, I am back at it again. But that's been one of the bumps. I find that targets in my life create clarity and they hone in on what my sense of purpose is. So one of the things I'm hoping to do, because it's been so rewarding for me the last 5 or 6 years, I have a spreadsheet with a series of cells on that spreadsheet for every week of the year that's coming up. And this time of the year, as I wrap up one year and get ready for the next calendar year, I start to listen, pay attention, pray, meditate, audit my last year and think about what are my targets for the coming year so that I can set up daily habits that are going to take me further and realize my potential. So because of all that excitement that's going on in my life and the sense of purposefulness that comes from it, I'm going to be starting in the new year another playlist on Sustainable Stace, which is about your personal goals and growth. So we're going to move from growing your garden to adding to it growing yourself. So hopefully, you know, buckle up. As we get going into the new year, we'll be looking at that as well. Now into these props. I had some amazing accomplishments in the garden this year, and you may or may not have seen these, but oh man, in the world of garlic. I grew 6 different varieties this year, and I just want to show you this one variety. Oh my goodness. Okay, these are called creme de la raza. Can you see this? Like, I've got medium-sized hands, but look at the size of a creme de la raza head of garlic. So I've obviously saved some of these, sold some of these. We're going to eat some, but I'm going to grow some again. So that was an incredible milestone in the year in terms of growing garlic. And I've got quite a few videos on the channel. If you're still wondering about how to jump into growing garlic, there's ideas. And if you're looking to hack the seasons because you feel it's maybe too late to plant, actually last year where I live in Zone 8, Western Canada, I planted garlic in December with a particular hack that was incredible, a simple hoop house, and I've got resources on my website to show you that. Another amazing outcome this year was drying fruit that I'd never dried before. Now, I've got apple trees all around me. I've got some pear trees in the back, and apples and pears have always been staples of what I dry, because every time I go camping, hunting, fishing, cycling, my buddy the other day was calling me Apple Chip, because I'm always tying into more organic apples that I've dried during the produce months. But I had success in drying fruits that I'd never had success with before, mostly because they're heavy, they're thick, they're moist, and I just didn't want to dry for days and days and days. So the 2 areas of success were figs and prune plums. You can actually see behind me over my right shoulder in front of my grow house, you can see a big fig tree there. We had an amazing bumper crop of figs, but previously a whole fig or even a split in half fig in my dehydrator took forever to dry. Same with prune plums. Here was the magic. I still split them in half, and then to the prop pile, I grabbed a potato masher. Just grabbing that little potato masher like that and squishing the fig or squishing the prune plum resulted in a whole lot of success for me, because it created all this dimple increased surface area, and as a result, I'd say 2 or 3 times faster than previous tries, the figs and the prune plums were able to dehydrate it. So if you're looking at dehydrating in the future, crazy little thing like just hit it with a potato masher, gently push it down, get that dimple effect from all those little holes on the masher. Huge success. 2 other milestones that I just want to share with you, and then we'll wrap up the video. I've really gotten into hunting. I used to raise meat for our family, chickens. There's a lot of stuff about butchering roosters on this channel. I butchered pigs. I did all sorts of other things. We had our own dairy cow for years, and we'd make our own ice cream and our own cheese and all those things. So finding a way to get animal-based proteins, lots of eggs over the years. I've had up to a couple hundred laying hens, but I've wanted a more flexible schedule. As my kids get older, we've got 4 kids, and they're a little more free and independent. I didn't want to be bound to my property because of animals. So I was like, how do I find my proteins? And I am mostly plant-based in my food, but proteins and fun. So I got into hunting and fishing in a big way. I'll share more of those great events over the last few years in the next few months. But I went white-tailed deer hunting. Now on Vancouver Island where we live, there's no white-tailed deer, so that's not possible. I had to go somewhere else. And I went into a new place in this past year to go white-tailed deer hunting. Snow's covering the ground. It's first light, first day. This was crazy. It might never happen again. It is truly a once-in-a-lifetime event, and that's why the prop box is pretty big. I managed to get a white-tailed deer that was a beast. Check that out. So I had this done by a pro, a Euro mount. So that white-tailed deer got to be part of my accomplishments in the past year. And I've had some others that have been amazing, but this was absolutely the pinnacle event. So a white-tailed deer in the past year was amazing. One of the things, changing gears radically, that my wife and I have loved to do over the years is cycle together. We grew up and fell in love 30 plus years ago cycling together. And this last year, our company, which is a coffee roasting business, was sponsoring a large local cycling event. There was over 2,000 cyclists, and we handed out a package of coffee from our company, which is called Level Ground Coffee Roasters. We handed out a package of coffee from our company to every one of the, I think, 2,400 cycling participants at this big event happening in our town called Victoria. It's called the Tour de Victoria, this cycling event. Well, there was this really cool series of opportunities to enter raffles and draws, and one of the draws to enter was a cycling trip to Italy. There was going to be 2 winners drawn, and my gorgeous, brilliant wife was thoughtful enough to enter the draw, and she won. And so we were able to receive this prize of a trip to cycle to Italy. And I'll tell you, cycling is great. Cycling with my wife is amazing. Cycling with my wife in Italy at a hotel where every day we'd go out on another trip and we'd come back. It's okay, buddy. Sometimes he kind of stumbles and falls. So we got like over a week of cycling. There's days off when you want them. You can choose the distance you want to cycle, and they've got fun names like cappuccino or espresso around the distance you like to travel. And then at halfway point of each cycling day, we'd get to a viewpoint or a vista at an old town village on a hilltop or a medieval castle. We'd have a coffee together with those we'd cycled with, and then we'd head back to the hotel for the evening. Well, it's also a hotel situated by a beach. It was an amazing experience. It's called Hotel Dori in a community called Riccione. And Hotel Dori in Riccione was an amazing cycle experience. I encourage you to look it up. And I want to ask you a question. What if we got 8, 10, 12 of us together, people who love gardening, who love food, who love sustainability, and we met up in Italy and we went cycling together? I've talked to the owner of the hotel, Stefano. He's a hands-on guy, and he's like, we'd love to have a group of people who are all connected around a common cause or purpose. And I thought, wow, people who love to ride bikes, love to grow food, love and enjoy great food, and love travel, get all together, do our different distances of cycling each day, have some meals together. Oh man, what a cool time. So message me, maybe on my Facebook page or on my Instagram. I just use the handle Sustainable Stace in both cases. Let me know, would you like to do that? So that's kind of a wrap up of what I wanted to cover with you today, talking about trial gardening, amazing trips, purposeful targets and intention, the idea of a playlist looking forward on this channel to talk about your personal goals and growth. I look forward to any input, suggestions, or requests on that. And some ideas there for your own gardening, your trials, drying fruit, how much I love to hunt, and cycling is amazing. Maybe we get to do it in Italy together in the next year. So I hope that's been an inspiring little time for you on this video. Thanks for joining, and please, if you haven't yet, subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.